This all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So nice to see you, Prabhuji. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Mataji. I'm very grateful to be back here with you all discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah, and we too. We are really happy to have you back. Okay, Prabhuji, we follow the same way. We do the Mangalacharan and then read the text and then hand over to you.
Yes, Mataji, no problem.
Would you like us to read the purport as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Oh. Okay, Shobha Mataji, is it possible for you to do the Mangalacharan for us, please, Mataji? Hare Krishna. Mataji, I think you are muted.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Thapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri-Yuta-Pada-Kamalam Shri-Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri-Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji, for the wonderful Mangalacharan recital. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for joining in. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 1, Chapter 10, and the text for today is text 29. Hare Krishna, Arya Govind Prabhu. Prabhu, is it possible for you to read the text? Text 29, please.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tadojayam Udiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. It's 29 now, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji, 29.
Yabirya Sulkena Hrita Swayamvare Pramatya Chaitya Pramukhan Hi Sushmina Pradyumna Sambhamba Sutadayo Para Yaschahhrita Bhauma Vadhe Sahasrasha. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, would anybody like to do the word to word? Okay, I can do word to word. Ya, the lady, Virya, prowess, Sulkena, by the payment of price, Ratha, taken away by force, Swayambare, in the open selection of bridegroom, Pramatha, harassing, Chaidya, King Shishupala, Pramukhan, headed by, he, positively, Sushmina, all very powerful, Pradyumna, Krishna's son, Sambha, Amba, Suta Adhyay, children, Aparaha, other ladies, Yaha, those, Cha, also, Aharatha, similarly brought, Bhumavade, after killing kings, Saharasha, by the thousands. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Would anybody like to read the translation and purport? We are on text 29. Okay, I can continue. Translation. The children of these ladies are Pradyumna, Sambha, Amba, etc. Ladies like Rukmini, Satyabhama, and Jambavarti were forcibly taken away by him from their Swayamvara ceremonies after he defeated many powerful kings headed by Shishupala. And other ladies were also forcibly taken away by him after he killed Bhumasura and 1,000 of his assistants. All of these ladies are glorious. Purport. Exceptionally qualified daughters of powerful kings were allowed to make a choice of their own bridegrooms in open competition, and such ceremonies were called Swayamvara, or selection of the bridegroom. Because the Swayamvara were an open competition between the rival and valiant princes, such princes were invited by the father of princess, and usually there were regular fights between the invited princely order in a sporting spirit. But it is so happened that sometimes the belligerent princes were killed in such marriage fighting, and the victorious prince was offered the trophy princess, for whom so many princes died. Rukmini, the principal queen of Lord Krishna, was the daughter of King of Vidarbha, who wished that his qualified and beautiful daughter be given away to Lord Krishna. But her eldest brother wanted her to be given away to King Shishupala, who happened to be a cousin of Krishna. So there was an open competition, and as usual, Lord Krishna emerged successful after harassing Shishupala and other princes by his unrivaled prowess. Rukmini and 10 sons like Pradyumna. There were other queens also taken away by Lord Krishna in a similar way. Full description of this booty of Lord Krishna will be given in the 10th canto. There were 16,100 beautiful girls who were daughters of many kings and were forcibly stolen by Bhamasura, who kept them captive for his carnal desire. These girls prayed piteously to Lord Krishna for their deliverance, and the merciful Lord, called by their fervent prayer, released them by fighting and killing Bhamasura. All these captive princesses were then accepted by the Lord as his wives, although in the estimation of the society, they were all fallen girls. The all-powerful Lord Krishna accepted the humble prayers of these girls and married them with the adoration of queens. So altogether, Lord Krishna had 16,108 queens at Dwarka, and each of them he begot 10 children. All these children grew up, and each had many children as the father. The aggregate of the family numbered in the millions. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishta Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Shanti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachatine Nirrishesha Shanyavari Paschat Deshatarine. Hare Krishna everyone, and welcome to tonight's discussion on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to facilitate some discussion on this beautiful verse and pastime within the Srimad Bhagavatam. So there's many wonderful themes covered within this verse and within the purport. I'm just going to repeat the verse. Yavirya shulukena hita srayambare pratamya cheda pramukhan shushminaha prayamna sambamba sutadayo para yashtrita bhauma vade sahashyashaha. The children of these ladies are Pradyamba, Samba, Amba, etc. Ladies like Rukmini, Satyabhama, and Jambavati were forcibly taken away by him from their Swayamvara ceremonies after he defeated many powerful kings, headed by Shishupal, and other ladies were also forcibly taken away by him after he killed Bhaumasura and thousands of his assistants. All of these ladies are glorious. So here we're reading about how Krishna has got many wives. He's got many queens, the queens of Dwarka. It's glorified later on in this chapter. They're glorified as great devotees of the Lord and their position in relation to Krishna. But there's a few questions which can arise, especially if we apply a material mindset to this pastime. First of all, we could say that who is Krishna to have so many wives? And in one sense, what's the difference between Krishna having all these wives and Bhaumasura? In fact, he killed a man and took them away from him, you could say, playing devil's advocate. So here it's said that Krishna killed Bhaumasura and took these ladies away from him, and then subsequently married them. So how do we understand this relationship of Krishna and the relationship he has with all these queens? And for me, 3 key points came out of this, which we need to establish. Is first of all, what is Krishna's position? The second one is, what is our position? And then within this kind of verse and exploring the pastime of Krishna and his queens, is how can we have successful relationships? And it's wonderfully explained in the 10th canto, some of the pastimes Krishna has with his principal queens. So the first the first point I'd like to kind of expand upon is Krishna's position. So for that, we have to ask a few questions. First of all, does God exist? And everyone on this call to some degree believes God does exist. So that is there. But then what is God? So as described in the Brahma Samhita, Krishna in the very first verse, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anade Radhe Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So this word, Sarva Karana Karanam, Krishna is the cause of all causes. This is what I mean, Sarva Karana Karanam. So this is Krishna's position. He's the cause of everything. He's the cause of the existence, of our existence, of everything. He's also known as Purusha. Purusha has the word Purusha has many different meanings, but one of them can be enjoyer. And then we have this another word, Prakriti. So we have these 2 words, Purusha and Prakriti. Does anyone know the meaning of this word Prakriti?
Does it mean nature?
Yeah, it can be nature. Nikhil Prabhu, I can see you. Thank you so much for joining the call. Would you like to elaborate on this word Prakriti?
Yes, the material nature or the material energy, which is coming from Krishna and kind of governs the whole material world, if you like.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Govinda Prabhu, did you have anything to say on this word, Prakriti?
This is feminine and also means enjoyed, not the enjoyer.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. So, yes, all wonderful descriptions of this word Prakriti from Nikil Prabhu, from Mataji, and from Arya Govinda Prabhu. But yes, Arya Govinda Prabhu is taken in the direction which I wanted to in the context of this verse, and Krishna and his queens, is that Krishna is the enjoyer and the Prakriti is that which is to be enjoyed. So in this context, so we could say, oh, well, that's a bit selfish, isn't it? You know, Krishna, he just gets to enjoy, and Prakriti means that we, you know, we all form part of the enjoy, the material energy. Isn't that a bit selfish? But actually, when we explore our position and Krishna's eternal position, what is his position, is that's just how he has set things up. And actually, when we dig a little bit deeper into this, and what love really means, what a relationship really means, and how we can actually enjoy the relationship, is we have to go back to this concept of Purusha and Prakriti, because whenever we try and exploit the material energy, we end up being disappointed, and we actually are never satisfied. But when we try and please Krishna, we automatically become satisfied. So this is a really key concept in relation to this verse. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bhaktaram yagnatapasam sarva loka maheshwaram sarvyadam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shanti mrikshati. So he's saying here that a devotee knows that Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. So Krishna is actually getting, or he's the one who will, is the beneficiary of these. He's receiving the benefit, which will be, so if we try and just worship, you know, have this material consciousness of trying to please ourselves, we're always going to be let down. So this is Krishna's position, Sarva Karana Karanam. He's the Purusha in relation to Prakriti. So then what is our position? Now within this verse and within the purport, it's mentioned the demon Bhaumasura. So this is a beautiful pastime where Lord Indra, one of the devas and a devotee of Krishna, he is very disturbed because a great powerful demon, Bhaumasura, has been harassing not only the kings, but also even the devas themselves. He's stolen artifacts from the devas, and he's stolen queens, and he's stolen the wives of many kings and princes, and he's created a stronghold. It's like a huge fortress and even a city with thousands and thousands of servants and demoniac servants. And like this, he's so powerful that Indra, who's a very powerful personality himself, is actually appealing to Krishna. And he appeals to Krishna, please, you know, can you help us? Can you assist us? Because this demon Bhaumasura is so powerful, and he's causing havoc amongst the lands. So Krishna takes actually his queen, which is one of his queens, which is mentioned here, Satyabhama. He takes her with him on the back of Garuda and calls for his Garuda is the carrier of Krishna, a great powerful bird, like you could say, creature, very powerful, mentioned in many pastimes, and a great loyal servant of Krishna. So on the back of Garuda Deva, Krishna, accompanied by Satyabhama, heads alone to the abode of Bhaumasura. Now, Bhaumasura, he's actually had constructed a fortress and a city which is very difficult to enter. It's actually been constructed by like one of his architects, demon architect, who had created several defenses around there, almost like, can you imagine, different types of barbed wire. And even it said, Prabhupada mentions that even by modern scientific technology, the defenses here were very, very difficult to enter. But yet Krishna, being the cause of all causes, being all powerful, he enters easily, smashes the defenses apart with his club and with his arrows, and with the help of Garuda Deva enters. And initially he is met by a great demon serving Bhaumasura by the name of Mura. Now Mura had 5 heads and was accustomed to living under the water, had several great weapons, but Krishna smashed all his weapons to pieces quite easily. He then actually removed the 5 heads of Mura and went to confront Bhaumasura. Again, a great battle ensues. And in between all of this, Krishna is being attacked by thousands and thousands of Bhaumasura's assistants, his henchmen, so to speak. Many great elephants were sent out with demons on the back of there to attack Krishna. But again, Krishna being the cause of all causes, the Purusha, they're no match for Krishna and his faithful servant Garuda. So Krishna, he kills all these many personalities who were sent to kill him, and finally he kills the demon Bhaumasura. Then what is he left with? Almost over 16,000 queens were kidnapped by Bhaumasura. So Krishna takes them. Or sorry, please correct me. Some of these girls were actually not considered to be marriable, and Krishna took them and married them anyway. And so then I have a question for all of you: is what's the difference between Bhaumasura having all these women and Krishna having these women? And again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, but I've heard many times people who aren't devotees, who aren't practicing Krishna consciousness, and they'll be like, oh, you worship Krishna. He's a bit of a playboy, isn't he? He takes other people's wives, 16,000, didn't he? Yeah, he steals other people's wives. He's just such a playboy. And it can be quite I don't know why this has come up, this whiteboard. Sorry, thank you, Prabhuji, for taking that off. So, yeah, and these people are criticizing Krishna and saying, criticizing his character, criticizing the fact that he's taking other people's wives, criticizing that he has so many wives, so many queens. So what is the difference between Krishna and Bhaumasura? Anyone would like to, how would you answer this question if you were approached, like I have been many times actually? Yeah. So we must come together. We must come to Krishna's defense. We're on a legal case here, and we're defending. We're part of a defense team, all of us here, and we're in the court. So we need to defend Krishna. So I think Pramila Mataji, she's the first lawyer who is stepping to the stand to defend Krishna. Please, Mataji.
Okay. So Prabhu, these women were taken away for carnal desire by, is it Bhaumasura?
That's right, Bhaumasura, yes.
But Krishna, they prayed to him and he saved them. So it's totally different. As to why Bhaumasura's intention and Krishna's intention.
Thank you, Mataji. So what you're saying here is that, as wonderfully mentioned in the purport by Prabhupada, Bhaumasura had taken these women for his carnal desire, the word carnal desire. So this essentially means to enjoy the flesh. So this is what Bhaumasura's intention was. But still then so that's a good point, and really, really good point. Thank you so much for mentioning that. But again, digging a bit deeper into this is that, okay, so what was Krishna's intention then? He's still got so many wives. What's his intention? And surely that's too much for one person.
No, but he respected them. He gave them such great respect in society. by treating them as his own wives and having children with them. You know, it's totally a different thing compared to somebody abusing you and kidnapping you and treating you with no respect and whatever. He gave them so much respect by marrying them.
Thank you so much, Pramila Mataji. Wonderful. So Pramila Mataji has said that actually it's completely different. He offered them so much respect. And actually, if you read Krishna book and within the 10th canto, well, there's so much we could say on this topic, but I think it's important that we really understand on it, are able to explain to people who may criticize Krishna as being some sort of playboy, as someone who essentially takes advantage of people for his own enjoyment, which could not be further from the truth. So one point to mention here is that he's God. Again, if we establish Krishna's position as God, second is that if we read about the exchanges that he had with his queens, is that he has a person, big as he's God, he's able to expand himself and cater to each and every one of their desires, each and every one of their needs. Well, for one of his queens, he may be having an intimate exchange, exchanging sweet words with them. In another one of his queens in another palace, which he can manifest because he's God, so he's got the facility to provide for all of these queens, unlike a materialistic person or even a demon like Bomasaur. And he's actually serving them and fulfilling their desires as they're engaging in a sweet, loving relationship with him. So it's important to establish here that actually by serving Krishna, these devotees of his, great devotees of his, actually become satisfied. And this is something we can all take away from this pastime here, is that actually by serving Krishna, we become satisfied. So that is the difference. That actually, I was thinking even about how Krishna is so merciful. He's not like a God to be feared. He actually wants us to come to him out of love. And what happens is actually, even though we can only really get enjoyment by serving him, he's so merciful, he's so humble, he's got so many amazing qualities that he actually ends up serving his devotees. And we can see this again and again and again. And what kind of amazing personality does this, really? He's in such a powerful position. I was thinking about Arjun and how he serves Arjun so nicely and allows Arjun to kick him as he's directing the chariot. He says, yes, just kick me on the right side and I will turn right, kick me on the left side and I will turn left. Who would put themselves in such a position? Krishna is known as Partha Sarathi, the charioteer of Partha, of Arjun. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't like to be, I wouldn't offer myself to drive a chariot if I was going to get kicked all around all over the place. But Krishna, for his devotee, he'll do anything. And this is the kindness and our position in relation to Krishna, to God, is that we're actually trying to enjoy this material energy. We're trying to exploit it. We're trying to exploit this prakriti to get some juice out of it, but ultimately we end up being disappointed. So I hope we've somewhat established Krishna's position. We've somewhat established our position as separate from, we're part and parcel of Krishna, but we're also separate. So the jiva can only really enjoy our position in relation to God as of a servant. Now, many people, they have a difficulty kind of accepting this role. This servant, if we use it in a material context, doesn't sound, to become a servant doesn't sound very appealing, does it? But this is a key, actually, then the final point within this beautiful pastimes that Krishna has of his queens of Dwarka is how to have successful relationships. This is the final point. So this is a secret contained within Krishna consciousness. It is said that everybody is looking to give love and receive love. So everyone's looking to love and be loved, essentially. and it's a secret within, which is revealed within Krishna consciousness, is to get love, you have to give it. And that's how you'll receive love. You have to give it. Within the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lord actually says a wonderful verse, which I have to meditate on. Atmadriya priti vancha tari bale kama, Krishna driya priti ache dare pramanama. This means the desire to satisfy, to gratify one's own senses, or kama, is lust. But the desire to please the senses of Lord Krishna is prema. This is love. This is what it means to, this is it. This is what love is to satisfy the senses of the Lord, of Krishna. And through doing that, we will experience what it, real love. So then, what has this got to do with relationships? We all have relationships. I can see many friends here. My mother is on the call also, and wonderfully recited the Mangalacharan. And how is God involved? How is Krishna involved in our relationships? So this is where actually Krishna acts as a medium, or his energies act as a medium by which we can interact and form relationships with people. So I'll give an example. I have a good friend of mine, Nikhil Prabhu, here on the call. I'm very grateful that he joined. A little embarrassed because he's very advanced and far more knowledgeable than I. But how do I form a relationship with Nikhil Prabhu as a friend? Is I appreciate his qualities. Everything has qualities, whether it's foodstuffs, whether it's perfume that you may wear, it has certain qualities. And these qualities, they where do they come from? So I'm appreciating good qualities, for example, in Nikhil Prabhu. He's very intelligent, he's well spoken. And what does Krishna say? I'm the ability in man. So essentially we're appreciating Krishna. So the way we can form good relationships is by remembering that Krishna is within this. He is within this relationship with the people that we form relationships with. And actually, by forming a good relationship with Krishna and putting ourselves as a servant and remembering that actually every single being, not just devotees, every single being is part and parcel of Krishna, and that they have Krishna within their heart as Paramatma. If we can remember this philosophy, remember our position, remember their position, we can form better relationships with people. I'd like to ask you maybe just to think about it. You don't have to answer here, but has anyone here ever given advice to someone when they didn't ask for it? So someone will come to you, they'll reveal their mind to you, they'll say, oh, you know, Mataji, Prabhu, I'm going through a difficult time, I'm experiencing this, that, or the other, or I'm having a problem at work, or I'm having a problem with my family, or even they don't come to us with a problem, but we'll give them advice anyway. This is our tendency. I know this is my tendency, strong tendency to do this. So just take a moment and think, have I ever given someone advice without them asking for it? So I propose to you, and this is a thought that I perhaps had, is that this is our tendency to want to be Purusha, to want to be controller, to want to act like God. This is a God's complex that we have. But the interesting thing is that actually, if we want to become divine, God-like, we only have to take the example of Krishna. And let me explain a little further. So in the Bhagavad Gita, a wonderful book that we've all studied, Krishna doesn't say anything for the first chapter, and only within the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he actually responds to Arjun. And when does he say something to Arjun? When does he start giving advice? Only when Arjun says, now I'm a soul surrendered unto you, please instruct me. So only when Arjun asks, please instruct me, please give me some advice, and he's actually saying, I'm a disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Karpanya dosapata swabhava pachamitam dharma samuda chetaha yastraya shanishitam bruhitan me shishasteham shadimam tam prapanam. And then only Krishna instructs him, tells him what to do. And in such a humble way, I listened to a wonderful class, which I'd really recommend, by His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj. It's called The Art of Conversation. And he bases this on Krishna's actions within the Bhagavad Gita. And often I can speak for myself. People will come to me and they'll just want to reveal their mind, or they'll just want to engage in conversation. And immediately I'll be trying to advise them. You should just do this, Prabhu. You should just do this, Mataji. Just do this, just this, that, and the other, as if I'm all knowing. However, even Krishna doesn't do this. And also when he gives advice, he doesn't say it's definitive. He said, that is my opinion. This is what Krishna says. So he doesn't say you must do this. He isn't so forceful and directive. He's actually saying, this is my opinion, but this is what will happen in my opinion, but you do what you wish. What humility from God himself, who knows everything. So he knows if you follow God's advice, you can't go wrong. But even God is saying in such a humble and meek manner that, you do what as you please. This is just my opinion. So this is our position, and this is our tendency to want to control people, to control things, which I feel can manifest. And I'd like to conclude with a beautiful verse in the Bhagavad Gita, which actually talks about demoniac qualities. So in the 16th chapter, Darva Darpa Bimanascha Krodha Parusham Evacha Agnyam Chavri Pitadasya Partha Sambadam Ashurim. So Krishna uses this word Parusham. This means harshness. And so within relationships, whenever I see myself being overly harshness, think about what this word means is this word harsh. It can mean kind of cutting. And I feel like I'm being cutting and overly, what is the difference between harshness and heaviness? So we could say guru is heavy. I've been chastised by my guru. The words of a guru are heavy. Sometimes we listen to Prabhupada, we read his purports, we read the Bhagavatam, and it can be heavy. But what is the difference between harshness and heaviness? And I would say in my, I was meditating on this, and I was thinking that whenever I hear from Prabhupada, whenever I read the Bhagavatam, whenever I read Bhagavad Gita, and I read the words of Srila Prabhupada, I don't feel like this is a person who's being harsh to me. I feel like it's someone who really cares for me. And although sometimes it's quite heavy statements, I feel held. I feel like someone is really, really, really caring for me. And this is actually, I'm reminded of one time I may have disclosed to you all that many, many years ago, I was a boxer. So I was training to be a boxer. And my coach at the time was very, very strict. He was extremely strict. If you talked in the middle of a training session, that would be 50 press-ups. If you drank water in the middle of a training session, that would be 50 press-ups. If you stopped punching the punch bag, that would be 50 press-ups. And so many like this rules and regulations. So at one point, after 3 hours of training, I had to do about 300 press-ups. And at the time, I used to think this, oh man, he must hate me. He's so horrible. He's so like harsh. I thought he was very harsh to me. And I thought, why is he being like this? But then as I trained on and on with him, and I could see that actually boxing is a very, very dangerous sport. Very, very dangerous. And one can get extremely hurt within boxing if one is not properly trained. And what he was actually displaying there, my boxing coach, was he was being heavy with me because he cared and he didn't want to see me get hurt. And many, many years later, I would train at many other boxing gyms, and there was no other trainer like him. He was actually so attentive to every single young man or woman who walked through that gym. He gave them the attention, he disciplined them, but he was doing that to protect them and ensure they were well trained. So when they enter a boxing ring, they're less likely to get hurt. And then I realized actually he wasn't harsh, he was heavy, So what's the difference between harsh and heaviness? Compassion. So compassion, true caring and wanting benefit for that person's benefit, not of our own. Whereas harshness comes from a desire to control. And actually, we just want people to do as we would like them to do, as opposed to, oh, it'll benefit me if you act in this way. Not really, it'll benefit you. So, and this is the secret to having loving relationships, remembering that actually we're trying to serve people, we're trying to become a servant, we're trying to become a servant of Krishna, and remembering that they are part and parcel of Krishna, and they carry Krishna within their heart. So this is something I really need to meditate on myself, in that actually most people, if we advise them, they're going to do what they want to anyway. And the second point is they carry Krishna in their heart. So actually, if we can help people connect to Krishna, connect to their dharma, connect to themselves, essentially, then what they're doing by doing so, be more compassionate towards them, by hearing them out, by displaying humility, as Krishna does to Arjun, they'll receive the answers from within anyway. And so that's just a thought that I had on this nature of relationships. So this beautiful verse, there's so much to say on this, on Krishna and his queens of Dwarka, how he kills the demon Bhaumasura. We talked about Krishna's position, our position, and how actually sometimes we can be a bit of a Bhaumasura. We want to enjoy people, we want to feed our ego, even in the context of Krishna consciousness. The difference between Krishna is he actually ends up serving his devotees, and he instead of carnal desires like Bhaumasura, he's actually fulfilling transcendental desires of his devotees. And so we talked about how to have successful relationships, and within Krishna consciousness, the secret to get love, to get prema, not karma, but prema, is you have to give it. So those are a few thoughts on this beautiful verse, this beautiful section of the Bhagavatam, and this wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada. I'd like to thank you all so much for your kind attention. Please forgive me for any mistakes I've made today, and I'd welcome at this point any comments, any corrections, or any questions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you for this excellent class. And today's the first time I understood the difference between harshness and heaviness. So thank you for making that point, along with lots of other points that I understood today. Prabhuji, I'd like to add on to your question about when you asked about in the beginning that these queens that Bhaumasura had stolen, they really prayed for their deliverance and Lord's mercy, and Lord gave them that mercy. So his devotees never perish. This is another proof over here that if you really pray to the Lord, he will come. So, and I mean, these might not be very respectable ladies. They were not, maybe they were in their previous birth, big sages or whoever, but at that time, they were just these fallen ladies. And if he can listen to their prayers, it means that he doesn't just listen to people of high intellect or something. You can be just a normal person, an ordinary person, or a fallen person, but he will listen. So thank you very much.
No, thank you, Mataji. Wonderful, really point. And I think just to compound that also is that, yes, so, you know, they didn't get asked to be taken away by Bhaumasura, but they asked to be taken away by Krishna and be saved. And another point which I didn't mention is that in that time in society, we have to give some context here. And at that particular time in society, they're very much considered, would have been outcasts, because although not of their free will, but they were taken and in the by another man. So having been in the company of another man in Bhaumasura, or even against their will, at that time, because of the way society was, they would have been looked down upon. But Krishna didn't look down upon them, and such is his amazing quality that not only did he not look down upon them, he married them and looked after them wonderfully. So yeah, this is something important to be understood.
Thank you very much. And Prabhuji, I have a question before I open up to everybody else. So you said in order to get love, you have to give it. So in this material world, when you give love, it doesn't mean that it will get reciprocated.
No.
Isn't it?
Yes, Maggie. Yeah, very good point. Yeah, so that's a really, really good point. Huge topic is that, and then I would say, so your question is essentially sometimes we give love and we don't get it back. So how do we explain this? Yes, so I think first of all, it starts, any relationship we have is not one way. It's three ways. There's a triangle. So there's Krishna, just like there's a nice picture I saw once before I got married, and it was that actually marriage is like a triangle, and you keep Krishna in the center. So it's like the wife, the husband, and Krishna, and you're actually helping each other serve Krishna. So when sometimes, yes, we may, for example, give something to a spouse, or give something, appreciate a spouse, appreciate a friend, appreciate a family member, and they don't appreciate us back. We may do nice things for certain people, and they don't do those nice things back. They don't reciprocate. But what I would put it to you is that love necessarily isn't, appreciation is reciprocation. That is there. So we can tell if someone appreciates us, we can tell because they will reciprocate. Sometimes we're not appreciated because the person doesn't reciprocate. That's okay, because ultimately, where are we getting our love from? We're getting it from Krishna. So sometimes I understand from a practical point of view, we have relationships, many, in fact, we depend on relationships in this world. Relationship is everything. But the way we adjust our relationships is that certain people, and I've had this also within myself, for example, I've revealed my mind to certain people, and I felt like I didn't get what I needed from them. Instead, I got the wrong advice, or I was met with harshness, not heaviness, harshness, and a lack of compassion. And then what it is from a practical point of view is like, okay, ultimately, are we looking to get love from the wrong place? So ultimately, who do we really want to give our love to? We want to give it to Krishna. And when we look at people and we're giving them love, we can't expect it in return. We just have the mindset that this is a person is part and parcel of Krishna, and they've got Krishna within their heart. So we help them. But if it hurts us to help them, then we have to take a step back as well also. And we have to just help to the degree that we can, set a boundary there. And that may even be people who were once close to us. I've experienced that, certain friends. You know, I have friends from before I came to Krishna consciousness, and I know now that I care for them deeply. They're almost like they've been there for me 20 years. So it doesn't mean I'm going to discard them, but I also know now I can't have the same relationship that I once had. Same, maybe the same for some family members, old friends. And even as we come to Krishna consciousness, the people at the beginning of our journey, our relationship with them may change as we go through the stages of Krishna consciousness. Bhakti Tirtha Swami, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami said, we should know how we change every single month. We should be changing every single month in Krishna consciousness. So I definitely don't, it's an easy thing to say, to get love, give it away. It's an easy thing to say. It's very difficult to do, but ultimately we're trying to see everything and everyone in relation to Krishna. And if we can do that, and actually, I'm just speaking for myself, when I'm doing things for people, if I'm really, really honest with myself, when I feel disappointed, it's because I wanted something in return. But when I'm just giving for the sake of giving, like we have people doing book distribution, Kirtan Mataji, you're doing such a wonderful service facilitating these classes. I know some of you went on the Rath Yatra and you were spreading the glories of in Kisumu, where my father was born, to people on the street. And when you're just giving that away, giving Krishna consciousness to people, and whether they take to it or not take to it, even if just one person takes to it, you get so much satisfaction in your heart. This is because why? Because Krishna is pleased. So this is that's just a few thoughts on that, but I'm happy to be corrected. And I know it's a very, very difficult and also painful thing to experience.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Are there any other questions or comments?
Yeah, probably. I just wanted to add to, obviously, thank you so much for the class as well. It's really nice to hear. Yeah, just to add on what you were talking about just now. Yeah, I guess when we try to give Krishna consciousness to others, it doesn't matter if the reciprocation comes from that person, but Krishna reciprocates, like you said, because when Krishna is pleased, then we automatically become pleased. And just like the analogy that we always hear of watering the root, and then the whole tree, is satisfied. So we try to please Krishna. We try to please Krishna by giving Krishna to others. Then whether or not we get a positive reaction from the other person doesn't really matter. We've done our part, but still Krishna is happy. And I've experienced that for myself. I mean, not to a great degree, but just in some small ways where I try to help others in a spiritual way. Like you said, when we see everyone in relation to Krishna, so we're trying to help people. When you said give that love, but like from a spiritual point of view, so we're trying to help them, grow closer to Krishna. Like you said, could be through book distribution or giving classes, or even just if we can't feel like we can do that, we can just pray for others. Whatever we can do for others, it might be something small. And then, so every time I do something like that, I personally experienced that Krishna reciprocates, even if the other person doesn't even realize, or it's not like you're going to go around and say, "Oh, I prayed for you. I prayed for," like, we can pray for others without telling them.
Yeah.
We can do these things without saying. So even they don't even know, but still, I've experienced, obviously just to a small degree, but that satisfaction is there, and then I know, okay, at least Krishna is pleased, and if we please Krishna, then we don't need to. What more do we need to do? Yeah, just wanted to share that. But thank you so much, Prabhu. That was really nice.
No, thank you so much, Nico Prabhu. Yes, water the root is basically when Krishna is pleased, we'll feel pleased. This is actually a good measure of whether we're doing the right thing, because there's often a saying is what you said may have been right, but it wasn't the right thing to say. So what do I mean by this? And especially in the context of Krishna consciousness is sometimes we're trying to give Krishna consciousness to people. And what we're saying, we're speaking from the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, we're saying, repeating Prabhupada's words to them. So what we're saying is right, but it may not be the right thing to say. And if we feel agitated after doing these actions, we have to maybe question ourselves and think, actually, would it suit me if this person became Krishna conscious? Maybe they're a family member, maybe they're a friend, maybe I can say, oh, look at me, all glories to me. Look, I made this person Krishna conscious. I brought them to Krishna consciousness. Or is it because we really, again, what's the difference between harshness and heaviness? Compassion. So are we really caring about this person? And sometimes the way to bring a person to Krishna consciousness isn't through preaching to them. It's actually just by being there. There's the number one book distributor at one time in the USA. He's a devotee by the name of Jaya Chaitanya Prabhu. Really, really nice devotee. He was a brahmachari for some time, and I met him a few times when I was in America. And he did a lovely podcast with someone called Namras Prabhu. And a slogan he gave was friendship before philosophy. He said this. So I just thought that was really nice. And ultimately, underlying everything is compassion. So, and that's what I really feel from Srila Prabhupada, honestly. If we read about his interactions with devotees, and two devotees may come with him with the same problem or the same situation, and he will give them different advice. Two devotees who he'd given sannyas to, and one approached him and said, Prabhupada, I don't think I can be a renunciate anymore. I wish to get married. And Prabhupada said, okay, go. No, you have my blessing. Another devotee came and said, Prabhupada, I wish to no longer be a renunciate and get married. And Prabhupada said, how could you do such a thing? So same situation, but he tailored it to the individual. So yeah, this is something that we really need to hone and actually be smart about as we go deeper. If you want to go really, really deeper into our Krishna consciousness, we have to really understand when we're being harsh and when we're being heavy. And if we're looking for something in return, it's probably that's not Krishna consciousness. If we really think about it, is it? When we think about, I'm guilty of this, but what's that verse? Atmadriya priti vancha tare bale kama, Krishnadriya priti yacha dare pramanama. The desire to gratify one's own senses. So again, we have to really just check ourselves, really, really check, think, okay, what am I doing here? Am I giving because I want to get, or am I giving because I just want to give?
Very well said, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions or comments? I know we are running out of time. We have 3 more minutes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Maji.
I just wanted to comment on how important for me personally about advice. When you talk about advice, I end up giving advice when people don't ask for it. And I keep getting advice from my younger sisters when I don't ask for it.
Yeah.
But it is so nice, that example that you gave of Krishna listened to Arjun throughout the whole of chapter 1, I think almost the 11th verse or somewhere around there. And then he answered on, and not until Arjun asked him to. So I really like that. That sort of remained with me today quite a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Maji. Yeah, and thank you for just admonishing that point. Something I need to hear again and again, because I have this controller tendency. So yeah, thank you so much, Maji. Easily done.
Guilty. Okay, any more questions or comments? If there are no questions or comments, can I... Yes, Lakshmi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji.
Dandot Pranam to Srila Prabhupada. So does it mean that only when somebody asks us, we should give the advice?
Very good question, Mataji. So there's many things to consider here, but I think it comes down to, again, is so remember this: harsh, heaviness. What's the difference? Compassion. Why are we giving advice? Second is first, do as Krishna says. So if we see someone doing something wrong, behaving in a bad way, or we're seeing they're upset or doing something out of character, our first response should be trying to understand, as Krishna did. So he didn't straight away, if we see someone doing something inappropriate, our first response should be one of compassion, which is everything okay? Would you like to talk about anything? And then second thing it's never a kind of black and white answer. Second thing is, what is our relationship with that person? So do we have a good relationship? We may be they may be somewhat close in the sense of they're our friend, they're our relative, but are we in a position to really be advising them? Will they take it from us? I was told that one should never try and preach Krishna consciousness to one's parents because they've brought you up. So I'm apologizing to my mom that I've ever preached to you, which I have, and because she's probably thinking, mother is the first guru, and here and now I was doing your nappies, and now you're telling me what to do. So it depends on the relationship we have with the person. But first thing, as we said, check ourselves, compassion. What's our relationship with the person? And are we doing this because we're trying to control the person? Or are we doing this because we generally care for their well-being? So occasionally we may have to step in. If you're a parent and you see a child, you have a child, and you can say, is everything okay? I noticed that, you haven't been doing your homework, or you've been looking a bit sad. I would suggest to do this, but it's very much a case-by-case basis. I know, but let's be honest, most of us aren't in that position, of authority. We maybe, if you're a parent, maybe, if you're a guru, maybe, if you're an authority, maybe, but otherwise, if you're not in that position and you're speaking to a peer, then yeah, as I mentioned, most times we forget that Krishna is within this person's heart. So if we're able to get them to do the right thing by just questioning them, that's great, because Krishna will speak to them if they're sincere. Second thing is, I don't know, my experience is, you can give them the best advice, top advice, but people will do what they want anyway. They're going to do exactly what they want anyway, because we can tell people, we can give them the best advice, we can be kind to them, but we can't change someone else's consciousness. The only person who can do that is the person themselves. So that, I hope that it wasn't a very clear-cut answer, Mataji, but it's basically, the principle is compassion and what is our relationship with that person. Does that help, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you
Hare
so
Krishna.
much for the clarification, Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Hare Govinda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna
Pranam. Also, I wanted to add a point. If someone is coming to ask advice from us, first of all, we should check ourselves that if we are qualified to answer or qualified to give advice according to shastric proofs. If you're not, at least we have to take it further up to a senior devotee. I mean, if it's related to spirituality, so we should not speculate and then give a wrong advice. At least he'll go in a wrong direction.
Yeah.
So I want.
Such a good point. I mean, even Krishna himself says, in my opinion. So, he's giving kind of some leeway there. And often, again, I'll speak for myself. We say, no, this is definitely the right thing. You should just do this and everything will be fine. We can't say that, because there's so many things. And actually, recently within ISKCON, there's been lots of discussion around what's known as hermeneutics, which is interpretation of Shastra. And so if we're really trying to help someone, and particularly within Krishna consciousness, if we're going to give advice, we should really not be just taking single shlokas and chucking them at people. Instead, we should really have a thorough knowledge of everything that is said within the Shastras and what Prabhupada said around a particular topic, a well-rounded view, understand ourselves and think, actually, I'm a bit biased. I'm either more liberal or more conservative. And so I'm likely to lean towards this than that. And actually, within this article by Mother Amila, who talks about ISKCON hermeneutics, she lays out a table of 5 points, which I will share with Kirtika Mataji, on whether we should, if we're misinterpreting or whether we're interpreting correctly before we actually give advice, particularly in relation to Krishna consciousness. A really amazing point, Arya Govinda Prabhu, and just also having that humility to understand, I don't know everything, I'm not God. So even though I may have some understanding, we may get it wrong sometimes, and life isn't black and white, unfortunately. Yeah, so I've been wrong many times in my life, and I'll be wrong many times in the future. And this is the Shastras, that we are human, and human means make mistakes. So yeah, thank you so much, Arya Govinda Prabhu. And yes, having the humility to say, this is what I think, but I know someone who actually is more specialized in this area. Better, I'll consult with them, and perhaps I can arrange that you can consult with them, and then they can advise you further. Yeah, thank you so much, Arya Govinda Prabhu. Very, very good reminder for myself. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I know we have extended our time by 5 minutes, and I apologize for that, but the conversation was very interesting and the discussion after that. If there are no more burning questions, we can close this session. Prashanatma Prabhuji, is it possible for you to close this session today? Hare Krishna. Peter Mulle Prabhuji. Maybe he's having internet challenges. Okay, Arya Govind Prabhu, kindly close the session. Please. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, yes.
Hare Krishna Kamal, Prabhuji, Danvat pranams. Hare Krishna also Danvat pranams to all the assembled devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. It's been a nice class by His Grace Kamal Panchal Prabhuji. Thank you for advising us, for giving us way forward on how to behave, how to keep relationships, and how to deal with others. I'm not at all qualified to speak on how to close this session, but I'm just trying a few words. So I'll just request all the devotees in glorification of His Grace Kamal Panchal Prabhu to chant the Hare Krishna mantra and to give thanks.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpa tarubhishcha kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Ramanandi.
Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashanatma Prabhuji, for ending the session. Hare Krishna. In spite of internet challenges, Hare Krishna.